One round of weekend games done and a quick turnaround as we've got midweek fixtures. We are beyond the whistle. Me, Matty K, and joined, as always, by the wonderful Grace Wild.
Hello, Matty. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad, thank you. Good weekend of football. Looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, so I mean, midweek fixtures as well, to be fair. So a lot of football. Should we jump straight in? Leeds and Forest.
Italy, what have you got written down for this one?
Oh, well, to be honest with you, I didn't actually watch the game on Friday. I just watched the highlights before jumping on now. But it was Leeds 3, Forest 1. And a great response, to be fair, from Leeds after getting a battering to Arsenal. And a massive six-pointer, really, in the relegation fight.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was. This one feels like a big one. This one feels like a turning point. It would have been a turning point for either team. And I think Leeds will definitely feel confident taking 3 points from Forest, who I believe are just behind them. Yeah, that felt like a big one. And it was quite a comfortable win, dare I say it, for Leeds. Forest did not look good.
Yeah, they've got quite a lot of defensive issues at the minute, which is surprising for a Sean Dyche team, really.
It is really, and I think that's where people criticise like Dyche ball because if that foundation isn't there, then it just fundamentally doesn't work. And yeah, needs just exploited it. It's as simple as that. I mean, the first goal, I don't know whether you've seen the first goal, the ball over the top, they just cut them in half. I think it was a Bogle goal, really composed finish, just set them off. Okafor got the second one. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back on the score sheet. Right place, right time. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, exactly where you want him to be. And then it was too little, too late for Luca, who made it 3-1 very late on.
Yeah, and I've got this big thing as well. I've said this before, Annie. I love when a game is like 3 or 4 nil, and you've got 3 or 4 different goal scorers on the sheet. It means that you're just not relying on anybody. I know Calvert Lewin had a bit of a purple patch, and he was kind of relying on Calvert Lewin a little bit. But I love it when you've got more than one player on the score sheet, like especially when they score multiple goals. You know what I mean, 3 or 4 goals in the game, and it's all different goal scorers. I love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, so do I. And I think it gives you a really good go at relegation battles because I think you're not reliant on that one person. And I think it's going to be probably a theme in when we're talking about the teams who are potentially going to stay up or are giving it a good go at least. They have got players who are scoring, and it's different players every week. You know, Leeds have had, yeah, they had Bogle, DCL, and Okafor this week, but it's previously been Aronson, while Lewin's been maybe on a little dry patch. I mean, I say dry patch, it was like 1 or 2 games. But, you know, Aronson was really performing and he was getting those goals. So I do think that part of the reason I think Leeds are going to stay up is because they've got goals in and around the team.
Yeah, I mean that win's put them on 29 points, and they've pulled Tottenham pretty much right into relegation fight with them. But they've gained 3 points on Forest, which, like I've said for the last few weeks, I do feel like the bottom three, well, the bottom two are already secure, and I do feel like it's going to come down between Forest and West Ham, which at the minute you guys are flying. It's not looking good for Forest.
No, but I think it's frustrating. The thing is with West Ham, and I heard a West Ham fan say this, and we'll get on to West Ham at some point, but we've almost we've almost accepted relegation, and anything that isn't relegation is a bonus.
Mm.
I don't think Forest really had that in their mind. I think they always thought they were going to get out of it because they were not in that relegation zone. I just don't feel the push from Forest. I don't feel there's faith in Dyche. You know, the one thing that Sam fans are unanimous on is let's leave Nuno in charge for the rest of the season, see what he can do. I don't feel that with Forest. I think there still could be another Forest change in manager, which is, you know, that's not stable at all. You're asking somebody to come in and uh, essentially um, come up with wins straight away because that's what they need. This week, the midweek game against Wolves feels massive.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that because that's a big game, and then you've got Liverpool, Brighton, Man City, Fulham, Tottenham. So I don't know why I'm putting Tottenham in there, but there's some tough fixtures coming up for Forest in it. So I mean, that Wolves fixture is another 6 pointer for the club in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the problem is Wolves are now. I don't know whether is it a Forest or Wolves that game.
That game is at Forest. Ooh.
Okay,
Yes, yeah,
they might have an advantage. if it's at Forest. But the thing with Wolves is, I don't know about you, but they scored against Chelsea the other day, obviously, but they are playing with a level of freedom because they've just accepted their fate. And I do think that's where they got their win against us. And I think Forest need to be careful. That is not a guaranteed 3 points.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at well, actually, I was going to say, looking, they can still score goals. I mean, they've had a bit of a dry patch with the Newcastle Man City Bournemouth game. I'm talking about Wolves here, sorry, but they can still find the back of the net when they want to. So Forest, I've got to be careful. It's not going to be a walk in the park.
No, 100% it's not going to. And if they go into it with that attitude, they'll lose. That's my mindset on this Premier League season as a whole.
Yeah, that's spot on. Anything else that you've got to mention about the game?
No, just I think we are now starting to look at Leeds as being contenders to be in the Premier League again next season. I don't know about you, but they're sort of in my, they're not out of it mathematically, but I think they've got enough.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, Ellen Road's always difficult to go to. I know Arsenal went there and absolutely slapped them about a bit, but I mean, they've bounced back pretty well, haven't they?
Absolutely, and that's that bounce back. You're not falling down a hill. You are okay. Bad result, scrap it, on to the next game. And that's what Leeds did. And they really took advantage. I did hear an interesting stat, actually, just that I want to bring up. I don't even know if I'm going to say the stat correctly, but it's something like Leeds have had like 40 games on a Friday night and they've won like 36 of them or something like that in the last 10 years. Also, like they just love a Friday night game. And it's that pressure of Ellen Road that Forest just crumbled really, and Leeds just did what they had to do, and they had a good time doing it.
Well, speaking of that, I was just going to say, I was going to ask your opinion on this. I love a Friday night game more than a Monday night fixture. They just do it for me. And I feel like the weekend just feels longer, and I just prefer a Friday night game. I love them.
I don't love it for my predictions because I've got to get them out quicker.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we've got a very good Friday night game coming up in the FA Cup with Hull City and Chelsea as well. Obviously, Liam Rosenior is returning back, but nah, never mind. Right, Man United 2, Tottenham
Go
nil.
on.
Right, and obviously I've got a rant prepared because of course I have. You mentioned before we started that you've got something to ask me. Do you want me to go on my massive rant first, or?
Go on your rant first.
Right, okay. I mean, Grace, go have your cup of tea and go have your tea and have a bath and everything else, and come back in
See you in
about
a
an
minute.
hour, and I'll still be here. Okay, right. So the actual game, don't give a shit about. Not really here to talk about that. I'm going to break it down into three things. I've got the board, I've got Thomas Frank, and I've got the players.
Okay.
Okay, right. Okay. I'm going to rattle through this. Right, the board. They've got no Levy to blame anymore. Daniel Levy's gone. You can't fall back on that. Vinay Venkatesham has gone invisible. Don't hear from him anymore. There's no transfer strategy. No one in the higher ups actually understands football. Johan Lang seems clueless, and unless he's signing a kid. And don't forget, Aston Villa actually sacked him, and then look up where Aston Villa went on to go. Parategy, the whole mess around in January, and then when he leaves for Fiorentina, he calls out the board, effectively calls out the board anyway, we should say, calling them night or saying it's good to work under new serious owners. So taking another jab at the Tottenham hierarchy. And I will also add, I find it a bit funny how he started working for them in January, and then all of a sudden they've made five signings, whereas Tottenham, we all know, were lacking in January. The net spend for January for Tottenham was 14 million, despite a 100 million pound cash injection into the club. The tickets are at an all-time high. People just can't afford to go anymore. There's a massive disconnect with the fans. There's a massive issue with the medical team. And I've mentioned this before. I'm sick of them coming out and saying it's just a knock. Kulusevski was just a knock, and he wasn't a worry under Postecoglou. And we still haven't seen him. There's no communication from the club in terms of Kulusevski either. Madison, we sort of have an idea because he's got his own YouTube channel and stuff now. But the whole Kulusevski, we don't know where that's going. They're reluctant to sack Frank. I think if Levy was still in charge, he'd have been gone by now. Okay. Are you still with me?
I'm still with you. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thomas Frank, the squad and his management plan have just gone out the window. He can't control the players. He isn't inspiring. He doesn't have any authority, and he lets the likes of Romero just run wild. There's an identity crisis. Like, we don't know how we're going to play in each game. The tactics are poor. The PR from him and the club in general is a joke. In terms of, look, we spoke about him holding an Arsenal Cup, and look, people have read into that however they want to thing it. But it's not just that. Even in a press conference, he's mentioned the Arsenal Invincibles in a Tottenham press conference. Why? Why even bring it up? He's constantly praising other clubs and saying how well they play and that they're a tough team to beat, which, for my opinion, just puts a doubt in the player's mind before they've even kicked a ball. He always says how proud of his players we are, and they're putting a really good performance. Mate, we haven't won a Premier League game since the 28th of December. You can't tell me that the players are performing well. The last Premier League home win was in the 6th of December. Frank's come out and said he's not enjoying his time at the club because of a heavy workload and poor results. That's on you, mate. Saying the fans were loud and singing during the Man United game. Yes, they were, Frank. They were loud and they were singing, but they were singing for Postecoglou and Pochettino. Not you, mate. Still with me?
So with you, go on, carry on.
Players, massive disciplinary issue. Up and down the board. Constant yellow cards, constant red cards from the likes of Romero and other players. They're coming out on social media and ranting. Romero to come out and say, oh, we call out the board for lack of players and then go get yourself sent off for 4 games. There's poor body language up and down the club. Van der Ven, Romero, Ben Davis, Dragusin, all likely to go in the summer. They're all calling out the board saying how frustrated they are with them. Brace, help me, man.
It's no help. I've got a board probably just as shit. I mean, yours are just looking a bit shitter at the moment. Um, that's one of the things I want to pick up on for you. I want to pick something up on the game, but I'll do that afterwards. The Romero situation. I mean, I was told, Matty, by a Tottenham fan at the beginning of the season that he didn't have discipline issues anymore. And I have had no evidence of that. I think the weekend was an example. He followed through when he didn't need to. It was a red card. And should he still be Tottenham captain? That's my question to you.
Well, look, the only thing with Romero is, right, he set himself up as a resistance fighter and then he's gone missing when the bullets started flying. And that's the awkward part. And what can you do? Because he's come out and he's called out the board, and then he's won round the fans, and the fans have all loved him for coming out and saying what he said. And what he said was right. I'm not arguing with that. But then he's completely thrown all that away by getting himself sent off in a game that was winnable. And
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I understand what that Tottenham fan is saying with the disciplinary issues because we were seeing red and yellow cards constantly from Romero. And at the start of the season, when he first got the armband, he did sort of rein it in a little bit. But I think the thing is with these South American players is they're very passionate, and when they get frustrated, it starts to show on the pitch. And we all know, like even then, another thing with the PR, look, Romero's come out and called out Tottenham's medical team by effectively praising the Argentinian medical team. It was them that allowed him to play after an injury because Tottenham said no, and it's just not a good look. And like I said, he was right in calling out the board in what he said. I don't think he should have come out and said it. I think you just do your talking on the pitch, win the games, and all this goes away. Uh, has he got the? Should he still have the armband? Probably not.
Who gets it though?
Well, I was going to. The next likely move is probably Van der Ven, but even he's stated that he wants out.
And also I heard someone say at the weekend that it's almost that power dynamic of going against your captain and then giving it to your vice. There's going to be a power problem there that could cause more problems than it fixes. Um, I actually think it, who knows? I actually think it might be a positive that Romero's not in and around the squad for the next few games because then if Thomas Frank's got any sort of intelligence in that sense, he can judge whether it's a positive impact, that ferociousness, like you say, that South American passion, whether that's having a positive impact or a negative one. I think this is the greatest example of that. Can I bring it to the game?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say, the last two things I was going to sum up on this, right? I wrote it down here that Thomas Frank is basically trying to win a Formula One race with a car that's missing three wheels and the driver keeps trying to jump out. It's constantly fighting against himself. as of this week, Thomas Frank is officially the worst points per game record of any Big Six manager in the modern era. His 1.32 points per game is lower than David Moyes at Man United, Graham Potter at Chelsea, and even Juan Ramos, who was sacked by Tottenham when they were bottom of the league in 2008.
Jesus.
You know, what the figures speak for themselves. Do you know what I mean?
Are they in a relegation battle, Tottenham?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think after the Man City game, we were saying this is now a time where we have to start looking above us rather than down. And then you look at this weekend, and you look at the around us. Palace won. They've leapfrogged us in the table now. West Ham won, which has put more pressure on us. Okay, Forest lost, but they're still within 3 points. We're right in it.
I think you are. I think you're in it, and I think it would be. I don't know about you, but I think it would season if something like that happened because the one thing you're seeing from the majority of the teams that are fighting to stay in the Premier League is fight. You know, Leeds, they're fighting, West Ham are fighting. It's something I don't see from Tottenham, and I think you're right that I think we are very lucky at West Ham that we have the likes of Jared Bowen in our team who are almost away from the game attached to West Ham as well. So the fact that he's club captain, he can't turn his back on the club. He just couldn't do it. He couldn't live in his house, I don't think. I think that helps us because there's no way that that squad could really turn its back on the board and everything that's going on. Tottenham, there is just a massive disconnect, isn't there? And like you say, there's multiple people coming out saying they wish to leave, or they'd be open to leaving. I worry. I've got to be honest with you. I think that is we could be talking 4 or 5 game weeks from now and saying Tottenham are in real trouble. Right now, I think they're just in trouble. If
Look,
the teams below them keep getting points, they're in real trouble.
I don't think Tottenham will get relegated because I think they've got the players for it. I don't think they've got the bottle to. I think if they did actually drop into the bottom three, they would shit themselves. But I don't think we'd ever actually drop down there. Remind me, right? What is the European spots? What does it go to? Eighth, seventh, eighth?
Depends. Seven, but if the Champions League, there's the Champions League spot, isn't there, that goes to fifth sometimes, depending. So it could be eight.
So, like, 'cause I'm looking at this now, and we are only 8 points off the European spots. But the problem is, I can't see us getting up there. I can only see what's below us. And I've said this on the last podcast as well. When we won the Europa League, the main thing for Tottenham, or the joke for Tottenham was you can't win a trophy. You can't win a trophy. You can't win a trophy. Your trophy cabinet's empty. Right? That's all we had for years. We went and won the Europa League. We got rid of that, and now we can't get rid of the Doctor Tottenham. We've got Newcastle next, who haven't won for however many games, and I can't see a Tottenham win.
No, no, because I mean Newcastle aren't great away from home, but you're not good at home. So it's almost a bit of a that's going to be an interesting one actually. I think that's going to be from a neutral point of view. I'm going to enjoy that game. Um, but I can imagine from a Newcastle and Tottenham point of view, that's going to be a tough one to watch. I just want to bring up. I don't remember if you remember me bringing it up, but I said good few podcasts ago, good few game weeks ago, that I felt there was a massive gap in between your midfield and your defence, and there's an area of weakness just outside the box, just entering the box that still hasn't been fixed. It's still a massive problem, and United completely exploited it. I mean, literally, the Mbermo goal was a corner routine that exploited that, 100% exploited that, and I literally watched it and was like, like that was how Mbermo was going to score that goal, and it worked perfectly. Don't you think?
Well, there's got to be something said for at 1-0, right? You can sort of say, look, we was a man down at 1-0, we were still in the game, we still had a fighting chance. In the 80th minute, he took off Solanke, João Palhinha, and Conor Gallagher. Okay, so two midfielders and a striker, and brought on Tel Bissouma and Kolo Muani. 30 seconds later, we're going to concede a second. That's where the poor tactics from Frank. He's
Well,
the
the
Romero,
message is all wrong, isn't it?
yeah. Well,
The message is all wrong.
The Romero red card is going to take this away from Thomas Frank. He's not going to get the heat for this game because it's all going to be put on Romero. But that right there shows me that you was in the game, you've taken off your midfielders, and then straight away United have capitalised on it. So how can you tell me that the tactics are wrong?
I just think everything about it is wrong. The tactics are wrong. The lack of improvement in certain areas, like I highlighted with the and Burma goal, is wrong. The substitutions are arguably wrong. There's at Tottenham at the moment, and this is me saying it as a West Ham fan. There's so much negative at Tottenham at the moment, and you're right. I don't see them coming. I like you said, I don't think they'll get relegated. I don't, but I I can't see where the next win is. Do you know what I mean in the league? I just can't. I can't see it. You know, you're naturally disadvantaged away from home, and you're disadvantaged at home because you can't play well at home, or you can't get a result at home. It's not necessarily the performances necessarily. I said necessarily twice. God, I'm tired. Um, it's not the performances necessarily because you've had some decent halves. You know, there's been a few halves where I'm going, oh, bit of momentum here, but making changes like that, it's just not inspiring anyone, is it?
Even like Colin Mawani was screaming to go to Juventus and was saying that I don't really want to be at Tottenham anymore. He wants to go back in January. We were offered on deadline day the chance to sign John Duran. Now, look, he's got his own disciplinary issues, right? But Tottenham turned it down and decided to stick with Colin Mawani. He doesn't want to be there. Why not ship him off?
Mm,
Like I said, okay, I know Frank's got this no dickheads policy or
yeah.
whatever, which I think John Duran falls into. But look, as a 6 month short term loan, I'd have took that chance every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think right now you can't be that picky. Do you know what I mean? I think, yeah, he might be a bastard, but he might be a bastard that comes here and gets you a good few goals and saves your ass. Like, you know, I remember Arnautovic being an absolute bastard and in the end wanting to leave the club, but he did not have an impact. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I get that no dickhead policy, but prove you're a dickhead. Do you know what I mean? If you're a dickhead, prove you're a dickhead, and then I'll tell you to your face you're a dickhead.
Mm.
Don't just do this. Oh, you might be a dickhead. It's just it just winds me up.
See, the last couple of things I'll say, because I know I've gone on about this quite a long now, but yeah, the last few things I'll say is John Duran is Premier League proven. And that's what Tottenham are lacking. They've gone and signed Conor Gallagher, who is Prem proven, and he actually looks quite good. It's a decent signing,
Yeah.
which I said to you, didn't I, when we signed him? I'm not against this at all. I like Conor Gallagher. I think it's a good signing, whatever. And I did say to a Manchester United mate of mine, United have done what Tottenham won't do. They've sacked their manager. They've made some good signings, Premier League proven signings in terms of Mbeumo and Cunha. They just found the source of the problem in terms of a goalkeeper, and they went and signed a better one. They sacked the manager when things weren't going around, and look at where they are now. Do you know what I mean? I think I heard something like United. Oh, was it something like? What was it? There was something like 4 points between Man United and Tottenham, and in the space of like 10 games or something, there's now a 15 point difference or something. No, it must be less than that actually. I can't quite remember what the stat is. I'll have to go back and find it out. But the difference between where Man United was when Amorim got sacked to where they are now is huge, and they're doing what Tottenham were. And absolute credit to them because they played well.
Don't you think the board at Man United, they're not perfect by any means, but they do have football on their mind. Do you know what I mean? They're not just making business decisions. They are making, you know, even just the short-term employment of Michael Carrick says everything. You know, they are looking for that passion. They are looking for that United energy. And somebody who has got a lot of appearances for them is going to bring that. That's a decision that is going to pay off because they're thinking of the football, they're not just thinking of the business. And that's what I immediately think of when I think of the United board, you know, in comparison to what Tottenham are doing.
And this is what I was saying, where it's run by business people. There's nobody with a football brain in there. It's basically being run by a bunch of accountants. And all the stuff like the fans call out, we don't want to see the F1 racetrack at the bottom of the stadium. We don't want to see NFL games and stuff like that. And we don't want to see Beyonce selling it out 5 nights in a row. All that wouldn't get spoken about if football was at the forefront of a football club.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. I feel you. Like I literally, I don't think you understand how much I feel this as a person who's been to the London Stadium a million times. It's like, yes, well done, you've got a monster truck convention there, but that's not helping us.
See, we are gonna literally move on in a second because we spoke about this for too long. But the Romero red card. The only thing I will say about that, I think his reputation didn't help him at all. Romero's reputation. Michael Oliver had that card out the second Romero picked up the ball. I think. Look, the conspiracy theory. I'm not one of these, but the conspiracy theories throw that out there that Michael Oliver's a Newcastle fan and who we're playing midweek. Oh, Newcastle, is it by any chance? Um, and look, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I don't care. The only thing I will say, oh, actually, two things I will say. Um, Romero was actually dribbling with the ball and it just sort of got nicked away from him. So I can see why he's done it, but it's still a red card. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
People were making out as if like he's gone straight through the player, and he didn't. He was actually in possession of the ball, and it got nicked away from him, and it looked like he was about to make the pass forward with his foot, but he's followed through. Do you know what I mean? He's followed through with his foot, and that's where his reputation sort of done him there. And then lastly, what I wanted to point
And I
out,
think that's, oh, sorry, I was just going to add to that.
yeah, go
I
on.
think that's the key for me of what got him that red card was, and the reason why VAR didn't say anything about it is because he didn't need to follow through like that. It was one of those, and I use my greatest source of Ali McCoy because I absolutely love the man. Him saying, you do not. Oh, is that controversial?
Oh, well, this is the second thing I was going to say, right? Him and the commentary team and the pundits, oh my God, they had a massive hard on for Man United in that game. Absolutely massive. Since Carrick came into that club and Amrin's been sacked, every pundit and every commentator has had a massive hard on for Man United, and it pissed me right off during that game.
That was so funny. Yeah, but don't you think the media has a hard on for Man United?
Oh, I,
Unbelievable.
yes, yeah, they do. And this, I mean, obviously, I've realised it. I know what the media have their favourites or whatever, but during this game, Jesus Christ, I had to turn it off at one point. I was like, I can't listen to it anymore. And I normally quite like McCoist, but yeah, it was just unlistenable during that game.
Fair enough. I do get that. I think commentary. I'd sort of love a go at commentary because I think as long as it wasn't a West Ham game, like I would say, don't put me in for a West Ham game because I would be biased. Like there's no chance I wouldn't be. I would be watching everything West Ham were doing and nothing what the opposition were doing. Put me in for a neutral game. I think I'd smash that. Genuinely, I would be the most neutral. Like, oh yeah, I'd love a go at that because I genuinely think I'd be good at it.
Right, have you got anything else to say about the game? Because I've spoke way too long. No.
No, nothing else.
Should we move to Bournemouth 1, Villa 1?
Yeah.
Right, go on, talk to me because I've done too much talking, Chris.
Well, I got this prediction absolutely bang on, which I will 100% take. Um, Bournemouth, no, Villa scored first. It was a Rodgers goal, really nice Sancho assist. Just lovely football. I don't know, like just that goal. That goal was so lovely, and I think it sums up Villa this season as a whole. Really quite a difficult angle for Rodgers, but he made it look easy. You think Villa are going to go on here and they're going to get 3 points, but they didn't. It's this man Ryan again, Ryan. I brought him up last week. That new player, I really like him. Really like him. He scored for Bournemouth. It was a really nice individual goal. Really, he made it, he scored it, and again, he made it look easy. I've been really impressed with him so far. I do think Bournemouth had some excellent opportunities to go on and win that. Evan Nilsson had some absolute sitters. I saw multiple times where I'm like, how has he not scored that? So I actually think Villa were lucky to come away with a point. I think Martinez was probably the reason they came away with a point.
Mate, that's all I was going to add to what you just summed up the game perfectly. I was going to say he had an unbelievable game, and yeah, but a clean sheet. Besides that, that's the only other thing that he could have done for a perfect game for me. It was incredible. Made some vital saves. So did Vicario, to be fair though, which I forgot to mention. If it weren't for him, we could have been 4 or 5 nil down during that game. He made some fantastic saves. But yeah, Martinez as
Yeah,
well.
I put that in my notes. Some decent Vicario saves. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all just what was that? It's also just popped up on my notes here that Udogi has been ruled out for 4 to 5 weeks. So add that to the massive long list of injuries that we've got to the club.
Well, you won't see him for the next 12 months.
Oh, I know you were. Well, look at that. That Souze, he's going to get thrown right into the mix now, isn't he? But yeah, no, Martinez, incredible. So probably the man of the match for me on that game. He kept Villa right in it.
Yeah, yeah, probably don't disagree. I mean, I would only own Ryan for Bournemouth. I just really like him at the moment. As you said, I've got a hard on for him at the moment because I think he's great. Um, that sounds really wrong when I say it. I'm never saying that again. So I really like him. I really like him as a player. I look forward to seeing what he can bring. He doesn't go down easily again, and just don't clip that. He doesn't go down on the ball easy. All right, doesn't go down on the ball easy. He stays on his feet. He just looks driven, and I really like him. So yeah, he's up there for one of my players of the game week. He's not my player of the game week, but he's up there.
Any other clickable moments that you want to give us? Oh, you good?
My mouth closed.
Oh, fair enough. Arsenal 3, Sunderland nil. Pretty routine win this for Arsenal, I think. There was held right up and well, I don't know. Hang on, did Arsenal score in the first half? They did, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no. I thought for
Zubimendi.
some reason I had it in my head that it was 0-0 at half time, but it wasn't. To be honest, I didn't see much of the 3 o'clock games because I was watching a squirrel run around the whole City pitch. Um, but yeah, no, it just seemed like a pretty routine win for Arsenal. Brobery, Brobby, is that his name? Brobby.
Robbie.
Missed a sitter in the 8th minute, and I think I do wonder what the game would have been like if that had been converted. But yeah, pretty routine for Arsenal. Another clean sheet, 6 goals in 8 games for Gyökeres as well. I wanted to ask you about this because I think it's kind of going under the radar his form. Like that's 8 games in all competitions, not just the Premier League. But is it kind of going under the radar a little bit? I know he gets quite a lot of stick, doesn't he, from opposition fans?
Yeah, I think he's going under the radar. I think actually he's actually starting to show now. And that's fine because some players do need a good few games to get themselves into the pace of the league and to be utilised properly. We saw it with Ekatike walking in and absolutely smashing it pretty much from minute one. He just settled right in, not a problem, getting goals pretty much immediately. Gyökeres is now starting to show that instinct. And actually, I do want to I think his 2 goals were really nice goals. They were really good. His finish for the first goal, I don't even know how he got that in the back of the net. He didn't have any balance. It was a really nice finish, proper striker's finish. And then the second goal, I don't know who was running, who got the ball. I think it might have been Havertz, I think. I'm guessing there. He was running up with Havertz, and that supporting run was so important because it gave. I'm going to say Havertz. It might not have been Havertz.
It, it,
No, it
it
was
was.
Martinelli. It was Martinelli, wasn't it?
For
Might
the, do you
be
mean for
Martinelli.
the second goal where he was running alongside the defender?
Because I thought it was the third goal. I think it's the
The
third
third,
goal.
goal, yeah, his second goal, which would have been his third goal,
Sorry. Yes, his second goal. It was Martinelli, wasn't it?
in the 93rd minute.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it was Martinelli.
yeah. So Martinelli, he his run was good anyway, but it gives Martinelli options, and this is exactly what Gyökeres can give for Arsenal. Is that was almost a guaranteed goal there. Is fusing the defenders, you're giving them another problem, and I think Martinelli has the opportunity to shoot there. Doesn't need to; he can square it. Gyökeres whacks it in the back of the net. That supporting run is exactly what I want to see from Gyökeres. And yeah, I'm pleased. I'm pleased from a neutral point of view. I am pleased he's starting to get some form, get some goals, and really not just get sitters as such. Get good goals, get goals that really show how much quality he has. So he's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, and it's a double game week, I think, in it for Arsenal this weekend. They've got Wolves and Brentford, I think, haven't they? So what?
Oh, have they?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, that's it. Sorry, well, it is in terms of FPL anyway. They're playing Brentford, then it's Wigan, and then they've got the Wolves game. In terms of FPL, it's a double game week. The
Oh, okay.
I'm getting confused with which podcast I'm on now. What I do like about it though is they're still in they're still in a lot of competitions. and they've got the squad rotation, which is what we said about one a few weeks ago when we talked about Eze and Gyökeres and Havertz and stuff like that. And they've got players that can now rotate and good players as well, good quality. People are slating Eze, saying like, "Look, you've gone there and you sat on the bench." That's what you need in a squad like that. Do you know what I mean? Look at Man City. They had Grealish, who was sat on the bench for quite a while, but he could come on and make an impact, and that's what you need to go on and win the league. So, yeah, I mean, I think they've got the squad depth to do it. I don't like to say it; they probably are going to go on to do it now, aren't they?
Or I don't know, after our final game that we're going to talk about, it
Oh,
spices it right up.
we'll get there. Oh, we'll get there. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good. Anything else that you got to say about that game?
No, I think it was fairly straightforward. Good statement win from Arsenal. For some reason, I thought Sunderland might give them more of a problem given the AFCON players being back in a bit of form. But away from home, they're not as good naturally. So yeah, I'm not shocked to be honest with you. I sort of looked at my prediction afterwards, thinking, what was I thinking there? Only one of my few misses this game week. To be fair, I did all right. But yeah, good win for Arsenal.
Yeah, to be fair, the predictions that we do every game week, we pick three teams or three games rather. We predict the score line. I think it's 3 points for a correct score, 1 point for the correct result, and you got two absolutely nailed on this week.
Thank you very much. I try my best.
But yeah, I would post them to TikTok and Instagram weekly as well. So go over and follow them. But yeah, I'm pretty good. Burnley nil, West Ham 2. Do you want to give us your rundown on this? I mean, oh right, hang on.
Yes,
Can we just talk
go
about
on.
Somerville?
I don't know about you, but we're seeing Leeds Somerville. We are seeing Leeds his final season in the Championship, Somerville, and I am absolutely loving it. And do you know what? I'm loving it even more because I was right. So many people doubted me. I was like, as soon as that kid gets some confidence, he will go absolutely off on one. And I think I saw a stat the other day that was like, he's the um, first player to do it since Lingard, score 5 games in a row or something.
Yeah.
And you just think about how much we were hyping up Lingard when he was doing it. That's the level of hype Somerville deserves at the moment. Um, yeah, this was such an easy slip up for us. This could have been such an easy slip up. I was nervous. The starting 11 came out, and all of a sudden, I don't know whether you noticed it, but Ariola was not in goal. We had Mads Hermansen in goal. I am somebody who I know how good Hermansen's been. I definitely supported the signing because I liked him at Leicester last year. I think he deserved to stay in the Premier League. And I was happy to see him come in. He had a rough start, but I think defensively we were shite, to put it lightly. And that didn't help. He came in because I think Nuno thought maybe is it Ariola that is the reason we're leaking goals potentially. Um, that paid off. Disassi came in because obviously Todibo was suspended. Very, very pleased with his performance. He was an absolute unit at the back. Too early to make a judgment, really. I need to see a few games for me to decide whether he stays in that role when Todibo comes back. But a great debut from him. Um, Other than that, I think it was Wilson up top. Pablo got rested. Wilson up top. It was a really good reactionary starting 11. It was a starting 11 that saw what Burnley struggled with and reacted to it. I mean, Somerville goal was lovely, just what he does best. Really, really nice finish, just full of confidence. And then the Tati goal was lovely. I think it was a juice ball in. We've missed those. And it was a really nice header, lovely header. We were in half time. Burnley were poor, there's no doubt. I think they're probably gone. But then I have to say, and I've said this multiple times on the podcast when we've lost, Nuno's decision making has been poor. Today, not today, but a couple of days ago, it wasn't. In this game, it wasn't. We faced it felt like Burnley reacted to us because they know we've been under the cosh in the beginning of the second half and really conceding goals, and that's been flipping the game on its head. This time, he reacted well, Nuno. Didn't send Kilman on, send us to a back three. He didn't do that. He did what I wanted him to do against Chelsea, which was put someone in midfield, shift it. Don't change it completely, shift it. He put Freddie Potts on, It was 100% the right move, and we controlled the game once Potts got on the pitch. And that was the thing is we just needed that slight alteration, and then it was pretty comfortable from then on. And I tell you what, it was nice to just get a pretty comfortable win. Do you know what I mean? A big 3 points. And look, it's not going all our way at the bottom of the table because teams are definitely getting 3 points when you don't expect them to. Palace being one of them. But we're doing our best, and that's all I can ask.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you a few weeks back, didn't I? I think West Ham have actually got the bottle to go on and stay up. I think they will do it. Uh, I've got no complaints about West Ham. I think you last few weeks you've been playing incredible. You look miles better going forward. The Yeah, I've got no question marks of West Ham. I was going to ask you about Burnley because obviously I'm assuming you did watch the game in full. Yeah.
I did.
Um, I mean, I'm looking at this. Obviously, like I said, I didn't see any of the 3 o'clock games, but I'm looking at the stats and stuff, and they had a higher XG. They had 5 shots off target, on target, sorry, 5 off target, and 8 shots blocked, and 54% possession with 5 corners. Them stats are looking all right. What is the problem with Burnley?
Burnley are a funny one. I just honestly, I think it comes down to the quality. I genuinely believe that. I think it is as simple as that. I just think that is a decent side that just hasn't translated in the Premier League. And I think they were such a defensive unit in the Championship. You can't rely on that in the Premier League. You just can't do it. Teams will unlock you. And I think Sunderland and Burnley are almost yin and yang in this season, the way it's played out, because Sunderland really invested. They took coming to the Premier League really seriously. Burnley, I'm not saying they didn't take it seriously, but the investment of getting players in who are going to keep you up just wasn't there. And I think, they've got some little stars. I mean, my brother highlighted Hannibal, for example. I think he was everywhere. He was in and about, he looked a decent player. I could see him leaving, to be honest with you, when Burton go down, because I think it's a when, not an if. I just I just think they're a championship side, I'm one of those people that convince me otherwise, and I'll tell you. Do you know what I mean? I've got not got any agenda. Convince me you're a Premier League side, and I'll say you're a Premier League side. They have not convinced me of that, and I think it's the quality. I really do. I think Leeds have got the quality. They signed Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a Premier League striker. We all know him. We all know he's a Premier League proven striker. Yes, he's had his injury issues and it wasn't all perfect at Everton. But he could put the ball in the back of the net. And it's those sort of statement signings that get you those goals that nick you the points. And I think Burnley just didn't set themselves up for a good season, and they are just poor. They are just poor. They leak goals, they struggle to score them. Simple as that.
Yeah, spot on. I think we've said before, haven't we? There seems to be a feeling with Burnley where they're kind of too good for the Championship, but not good enough for the Prem. And like you said, like they was massively defensive last season in the Championship, and it worked so well for them. I think there was like the best defensive team in the league that season as well. But you can't do it in the Prem, can you? And I think you've you've nailed it on the head. To be fair, that summary, I am going to top that. So fair play. Yeah, you've smashed it. Should we have a look at the next one?
Yeah,
What is the next one? Fulham 1, Everton 2. Battle of own goals.
absolutely. And it started early on. I mean, don't you think that Mikalenko own goal was just unlucky? I just felt bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, it's never good to concede an own goal, is it? But in that sort of fashion as well.
Yeah, it felt harsh. I mean, it was what was it? A Jimenez shot. Pickford saved it, and it rebound off of Mikalenko into the back of the net. Neither could have done really anything. It felt unfortunate. Um, Fulham should have capitalised at 1-0. We would not be talking about an Everton win here had they capitalised. They just invited Everton back into the game pretty much. And it's that man, Dewsbury Hall, again. He comes back. He is so effective. So effective. Absolutely love watching him play.
Yeah, no, I was going to highlight him as well, just to say, especially with Grealish being out as well, you do feel like he is the sort of focal point for Everton at the minute. And I'm not going to say Everton were relying on Grealish because there probably wasn't, but you sort of felt like it was all going to go through him. But now that he's out for what he's probably going to be the rest of the season, yeah, he does seem like the main man, doesn't he, for Everton? And he turned it around for him.
Yeah, and creatively, he just sparks a lot. He's just the type of player that can turn something nothing into something. And like the corner, for example, he scored his goal, great. And lovely, it was a Mikolenko assist. So, he sort of made up for that own goal earlier. Um, it, it, I actually liked what Everton did for that corner because it's not been given to Everton. It was a Leno own goal, the winner. They O'Brien was just a menace. Like, and I understand that I don't know whether you've seen it, the call for that to be a foul. I do get it. But the truth is O'Brien wasn't doing that much. O'Brien was just being a menace. And that, call it dirty tactics, call it dark magic, whatever you want to call it. Like, we talk about Arsenal and all that sort of stuff. But whatever it is, it's smart and it is going to get you goals. And that I just loved. I just loved how much of a menace O'Brien was in the box. And it worked for them. And yeah, it was Dewsbury Hall again with the corner. He's not going to get the credit for it because it was a poor own goal from Leno. Brian to deal with what was put in front of him. Yeah, I think Everton deserved the win in the end.
Yeah, and well, I mean, we're seeing this throughout the season, aren't we? People, not sorry, teams, sorry, are doing this throughout every game with corners and stuff like that. That's just kind of how the game's sort of going. And we spoke a little bit last week on how, actually, I was trying to remember. Did I set you some homework to do with corners?
Did, but I haven't done it. Done it. I haven't done it. I haven't done it because
Done it.
Arsenal were playing a 3 o'clock kickoff, so I definitely didn't watch it.
Okay, right. Well, you
Sorry.
boys and girls listening, don't forget Grace is a teacher, and she just said she hasn't done her homework, so don't worry about it. You can just do what you want. That's what she's saying. Do what you want. Yeah, but we're seeing this quite regularly, aren't we? And from teams up and down the league in corners and stuff. And yeah, look, eventually it's one of them sort of tactics that he's going to get figured out how to defend it. And I think was we talking about Liam Rossini and Chelsea had sort of kind of worked out how to sort of defend them sort of corners. But yeah, look, like you said, absolute menace in the box and. Yeah, fair play to Everton. They turned it around. It's good to see him get a win on the road as well because we'd been at home and under that new stadium, we kind of like was hoping that would become a fortress for Everton, and it was towards the start of the season. But yeah, it's good to see him get some points on the road.
Yeah, and I think they're just going to be a classic mid-table team this season. I think they randomly drop points. Everton, they're not consistent enough for me. But to be honest with you, I think that's not such a bad season for Everton to have. I think a bit of stability, a bit of nowhere near the drop. They've got some all right players. Moyes is very consistent in many ways, and yeah, I think Everton fans all feel all right about this season.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll just say about Dewsbury Hall as well, this kind of like going back to Tottenham, where we don't have that player that can get us on the edge of our seat. Do you know what I mean? Like look at West Ham with Somerville and even Bowen to a certain point, and that it feels like that sort of player where he gets the ball and you kind of like on your edge, like what's he going to do? Where's the spark? And I do feel like that's missing from Tottenham, and we had that with Kudus a little bit, but obviously he's out injured as well, along with everybody else in the squad. But yeah, I do like that from Dewsbury Hall. He just sort of gets you perked up a little bit.
Yeah, it gets you excited. What's he going to do next? Just a word on Fulham. I don't know whether you've got anything on Fulham.
Other than there's been a little bit of Harry Wilson drop off. Do you think that is the not downfall to Fulham, but was they like we talked about reliability? Was they relying on Wilson a little bit, and obviously when he drops off, the Fulham drop off?
Yeah, I think so. I think he is that sort of prime example of they have sort of benefited from him being in a purple patch, and he isn't anymore. I'm sure he'll come back into form at some point. They'll be fine, Fulham, but I think we were talking about them potentially pushing for Europe, and they're not going to do that by losing at home to Everton. They're just not that game, and they just didn't.
Yeah, no, sweet. I'm all good. Wolves and Chelsea. Can you take the lead on this? I'm going to flick this lamp on because I'm starting to look really pale under this lighting. It's got really dark outside, and I look like I'm about to be an extra in Vampire Diaries. So you take us away. I'm just going to flick that light on, and I'll be back in a second.
Okie dokie. Right, Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. I'm annoyed at this one because Chelsea conceded. I would have got another result absolutely spot on because I said 3-0 Chelsea. God damn it, Chelsea. This was a Palmer hat trick. Granted, there was two penalties in there. It was penalty, penalty. Palmer buried both of them, and then lovely position and a finish for Palmer's third. Um, and this is the conversation about Wolves and it not being an easy fixture for Forest. Is I want to say a Rockadair? Is that the player that scored? Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. It was a nice corner routine, really nice turn and finish. Bit pinball in the box, but they have got some decent quality. Sorted his feet out really well. So look, I think it's a great win for Chelsea on the road. Brilliant win. I expected them to win pretty comfortably. Good to see Palmer back in form.
Yeah, like I think I literally just written down I pretty well. I actually wrote down routine loss for Wolves because I think we just sort of expected Wolves to lose this game really, and it's a sad sort of state of affairs with Wolves. I think they've accepted that they're going to go down this season. Everyone else has accepted it, and I think that's been shown with the likes of selling Strand Larson and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, like you said, Palmer. I've got my opinions on Cole Palmer and the hype around him, but especially he's a fantastic goal scorer. Quite a lot of them are penalties. But yeah, look, you still got to put them away, aren't you? So a pretty routine win for Chelsea. Liam Rossini is absolutely flying, and I'll get to see him back in Hull on Friday night, and I'm looking forward to it. To be fair.
Yeah, I think that'll be an interesting one actually, because it'll be a different type of challenge. It'll be a sentimental challenge. That's one that can knock you psychologically. So I'm interested to see how he goes about that one. Yeah, he's just started really well, and I think his down to earth nature just helps that. I don't think he's hiding anything. I just think he's who he is. And he's not trying to be this stereotypical Chelsea boss. I think he's just trying to be himself. And that seems to be working. I mean, they're just a decent side, Chelsea. They've got some great players. They should be doing better than they are. I think early on in the season I said Chelsea should be in the title race. And there was a period of time where it did look like they were going to be in the title race, and it's just dropped off. And maybe you never know, next season they could be well in it.
Yeah, and this with Chelsea kind of like indicates towards the board. I mean, Chelsea board is mental because they're just throwing money at everything, but they picked the right moment to sack. Well, did he actually get sacked, Maresca, or was it a mutual consent sort of resignation?
I think it was a typical what we see these days of Maresca hinting of being sacked and then it happening type situation.
Right, okay. Because I was going to say it just happened at the right time for Chelsea. I think they picked the right moment. It took me by surprise because I was surprised that sacked or he left or whatever in the first place. But then they brought him in. Did they hold him off for the Fulham game? I think didn't they? And then bring him in for the because his first game in charge was Charlton Athletic.
Yes,
Was
yes,
he
you're
was he
right.
in charge for Man City? The Man City 1-1.
No, I'm almost certain he wasn't.
Sorry, I mean Maresca. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm almost certain he
Yeah,
wasn't Maresca because I
yeah,
think he got sacked on New Year's Day. I'm sure of it.
he did. You're right. Let me have a look at that then. So that would have been after the Bournemouth game, right? First game of the season. Yeah, so this is what I'm sort of trying to get at here is the Bournemouth and then the start of a new year. They've got Man City and Fulham in the Premier League games, which Man City is already a difficult game as it is. Fulham can be a banana skin, but you should expect. I mean, it was because they lost 2-1, but you should expect to win there. And then they just waited for the right moment and then brought him in for the Charlton Athletic game because a win there, and you're already on the positive side of the Chelsea fans, aren't you? I just yeah, I just admire it. I think it was just it was done at the right time. They could have brought him in for the Man City game, and I think if they brought him in and they'd have lost that and then lost to Fulham, you're already on the back foot. So yeah, I admire it.
Yeah, spot on. I think that's exactly it. I think the timing within the season as well, not just the timing of bringing him in. The timing in the season, that's the sort of perfect timing, if there is one, to sack your manager because you're sort of not quite at halfway through the season, but you've had enough of a taste of the previous manager to know where it's going. But the next manager has enough time to settle in and still get good results. We talk about Forest. Oh, terrible timing, horrific timing. Unless you've got somebody lined up that you definitely go, yes, I put all my faith into him. It's not good timing because he will have to come in and immediately start winning games for them to survive. And that's that's where I think Chelsea, again, we talk about football in minds, we talk about people who think about the football as well as the business. And I do think, again, there are boards that aren't perfect, but I think they did that well.
Yeah, no, spot on. Anything else that you got to say about that game?
No, just I think 100 times before, Wolves have pretty much accepted that they're going down. The appointment of Edwards was exactly that. It was just accepting it, I think. Selling Strand Larson, I think Wolves are just waiting now until their championship challenge.
We spoke about it before, haven't we? We expect Wolves to hold on to Rob Edwards during the championship as well, right?
Yeah, I think it was an appointment for that. I think it was one of those appointments where you have one eye on next season, and I think he definitely has enough time now to really get to know your squad, go down with them, and actually have a good go at getting them back up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they will. I think they will bounce back as well. But look, the championship's a different level in it, so we'll have to wait and see. But they're definitely championship bound. Another manager that's in trouble, allegedly, is Eddie Howe at Newcastle. Have you been hearing the rumours about him? For you Newcastle fans wanting him gone?
Yeah, I've heard some stuff. I'll be honest with you, I feel quite opinionated with this Newcastle thing. Newcastle as a club, I think they're similar to West Ham in many ways. I think they're a really, really passionate fan base. Um, it's a tough one, this, because Eddie Howe, they're in a buffer zone where I don't really understand what they expect because the players that they're attracting are not the players that Liverpool are attracting, are not the players that Chelsea are attracting. And so I don't think you can expect them to be at that level when you are still attracting a lot of, and who else? Baltamada, for example, really good players, but they're not. I feel like Eddie Howe's got a bit of a poison chalice at the moment because he's going to have to overperform, in my opinion, with the squad he's got. And I think you can pump money into it, but it's about who you attract at the end of the day. Um, this is a really tough one. I just don't know who they bring in if they get rid of Eddie Howe.
Yeah, I can't see it to be honest, unless they do it towards the end of the season. Season's finished, and then they think right next season we'll do it. The only problem you've got there though is we spoke about this on the last podcast as well. Apparently, with the relaxation of PSR rules and stuff like that, Newcastle are allowed to spend big in the summer. The only person I would trust to spend that sort of money is Eddie Howe because he knows the club, he knows the squad, he knows what he needs. I mean, it's okay sacking him, and you can bring him. I don't know, like you can bring in Jurgen Klopp for as much as you want, but he still doesn't know the players inside and out like Eddie Howe does because he hasn't worked with them for the past 2 years or three or however long he's been there. Yeah, I think this is something that they should just wait out. The grass isn't always greener on either side. I think.
Yeah, I think that's 100% it. The grass isn't always greener, and you're absolutely spot on. Who who knows that squad? Eddie Howe knows that squad. And I think if you watch football religiously, you can tell who the big characters are, and you can tell the players that you could push into that title contending, Champions League consistent team. The likes of Gimaresh and Tonali, those are the types of players that you could push to be that good. He needs those players, and the thing is those type of players, Gimaresh in particular, for me, I think shows the view of the team. They're still fighting for him, and that's where the grass isn't always green on the other side thing works for me because there's no sort of the results aren't brilliant, particularly away from home, but they're still fighting. They're still a really difficult side to take on at St James's Park. And look, we can't underestimate Brentford. They lost 3-2 to Brentford. And I'm annoyed because I said 2-2 and Brentford ruined that for me. Another one I could have got spot on. But Brentford are a tough side to beat at the moment. And the truth is, it worked perfectly for Brentford because all the pressure was on Newcastle to go on and win. And they just hit them on the counter and they did it so effectively.
Yeah, I mean, we've
What can
given
you say?
we've given Brentford a plenty of flowers, haven't we, in the podcast the last few weeks and stuff? Because I'm really impressed with them. And again, I don't want to keep going back there, but we've mentioned before, was Thomas Frank holding Brentford back a little bit? Every week, there just seems to be more evidence towards that, especially with the way Andrews is just he's managed Brentford phenomenally this season. Especially, like I said, they were tipped to go down at the start of the season. And yeah, going to St James's Park is never easy, and he's walks away with 3 points. And especially being a goal down as well. Yeah, we've given Brentford the flowers throughout the last few episodes and stuff, rightly so. I think there's a few question marks over Newcastle and Eddie Howe, but like I said, the grass isn't always greener, so that's all I can say about it. But wait, from a neutral point of view, what a game!
Oh, great game, really entertaining. And do you know one person I really want to bring up that is actually came from Bournemouth, and I've been really impressed with him, and he's another one that's sort of going under the radar a little bit is Dango Watara. I really like him. I think he's really driven. He's really um, some of the goals he scores are. I'm going to use it. Delightful.
Oh,
Um,
I was
it's my
waiting,
first one.
waiting. I,
It's my first one.
I know, no,
So my first
I knew it was coming. I was expecting it around the his free kick. I was waiting for it around about then, but yeah, it's been thrown out early days.
come out for that again. Don't you worry, it'll come out again for that. But no, Ratara, I just think he can make something out of nothing, and he's just been such a good influence. And again, you know, we talk about Brentford, they're another team who have got lots of goal scorers. You know, Thiago is sort of stat packing in many ways. The goals are centrally from him, and they should be, given he's a striker. But they also have goals from elsewhere. I mean, it was what Yanao and Ratara getting the goals as well as Thiago. It's just good news. It's just good news. There's goals coming from everywhere. They look decent at the back. I just don't think you can say losing to Brentford this season is a horrific result because it's just not.
Yeah. Just before we move on, I just wanted to ask you, you sort of touched on it a little bit, but just how important is Bruno to that Newcastle side? Because obviously he was out with injury. We sort of went through a little bit of a dip. 5 games without a win for Newcastle. And okay, yeah, I know they didn't win this game with him back in the squad, but they just look better with him there, don't they?
Yeah, they do, and I'm a massive fan of that midfield spot because I think they're almost the conductor of an orchestra. They are so important to the fluidity of a team, and it's not only that for Guimaraes. I think some of the things he can do can wind people up, but he is so passionate about Newcastle, and like I said when I compared West Ham to Newcastle. West Ham love a player who gets really passionate about playing for your club, and he is that type for Newcastle. Newcastle fan, you know, he has just embodied everything about Newcastle. So I think he is so important in so many ways, and the stats show it.
Yeah, fair enough. Should we get the next boring game out the way before we get onto that feisty final game? Brighton nil, Crystal Palace 1. I've not got too much to say about this game, to be honest. Sarr scores, Henderson made some fantastic saves, and Brighton are falling down the table.
Yes, and this was an unexpected one actually. I think Brighton are another one who've gone under the radar for how poor they've been. I mean, I've heard talks of potentially sacking Hertzler. Um, I don't think Palace were magical. I think Palace are still a work in progress in many ways. And I think they'll still drop points this season. I don't think they'll be in trouble now with that 3 points. I think that was quite a statement win for them. Um,
Well,
yeah, I mean they could be. They could be. Who knows in this season? Who knows? It's a really up and down season. But yeah, Sarr scores. I think it was a really poor defending from Brighton. I think really poor. Um, the person I do want to just give a bit of credit for his Palace performance, and it was his debut, was Strand Larson. I think he made them better.
yeah, yeah, no, he had a chance throughout the game as well, which he just didn't take. But yeah, he looks good. And again, this is another thing where Palace have bought a prem proven player, and I think with him and Brennan Johnson, okay, they're not the best players in the world, but they're going out there with intent, and they're signing these Premier League proven players. Look, you're probably right. They're not really in danger of relegation and stuff, but again, this goes to show that these sort of signings. And okay, it's the first game, but it looks very bright for them. It's only positive news, and we went quite hard on Crystal Palace last podcast, and it was good to see him pick up 3 points on the road for them. Like I said, we did go in quite hard last week. I was very brutal towards Palace and their ownership, and I do feel sorry for them. But fair play, you've gone there. I know it's a derby. It's a derby, not a derby, in it, the bloody motorway derby, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, fair play. Like, it wasn't the best game in the world, but yeah, fair play. Strand Larsen looked very good. He could have bagged a goal.
Yeah, could have done. I think he just there were certain situations where he was fighting for that second ball. He was fighting to get that pass. And I just think that's been missing a bit for Palace. And I really enjoyed what he could bring to Palace. And I just personally think he's got quite a bit of potential. I don't think he's at that point. It's quite hard being a Norwegian striker. I nearly said Danish then. A Norwegian striker when there's a certain Norwegian that is always going to get the credit. So it must be tough. But he's a big boy. I don't think he uses that well enough. I don't think he uses it effectively. I think he could use it much more effectively. Um, I just hope he works out as a signing because they paid quite a bit for him. And I just thought he played really well. I can't lie. I just thought he looked a bit like the missing piece of the puzzle.
I think he will as well, and it was a good play for Wolves. I think he'd sort of checked out from Wolves when he didn't get that move to Newcastle ahead of Visser. And I think that's why we've not really seen him sort of hit the heights that we expected him to this season. I think he just sort of mentally checked out from Wolves, and especially when Wolves got off to the start that they did, and it was kind of written on the wall for them as a club. Yeah, I think it just sort of checked out, and it's given him a bit of new life as well. And now that he knows he's going to get a run of games because Mateta's out injured, he's settled. He's not having to look over his shoulder. Yeah, it's only a matter of time, I think, and he'll come good.
That's interesting too up top if they ever decide John Larson. Woohoo!
Yeah, sorry, you froze for a minute then, but I think I've got you back. Yeah, no, Stranlass and Mateta up top. I mean, there's talks of Mateta leaving, isn't there? Well, there was in the January. He almost moved to AC Milan, so I would expect him to leave in the summer. Does his contract run out in the summer, or does he? Does he just want to leave?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think he's realised he's probably too that harshly. I think he does deserve to play in top European football. The way in which Palace are going, you do want an escape route in many ways, and I think he's good enough to get a decent escape route.
Yeah. Should we move on to the highlight of the game? And I'm going to say it now. I think this is both of our uh, game of the weeks. Liverpool 1,
Yeah.
Man City 2. Where do we start with this, Grace?
Well, I want to say it was a really entertaining game without the goals. So 0-0. I think it was 0-0 for what, 70 minutes. It was a really good battle for that 70 minutes. I really enjoyed it. It was everything I wanted it to be. It's physical. It was technically there was aspects I'm thinking, oh, there's goals in this, but we've not quite got that yet. And then you think, have Liverpool buried City, in terms of the title race with that Szoboszlai free kick. Made me very happy as a neutral. I just sat there and just enjoyed it. It was delightful.
There it is! Again! We love a delightful, don't we, Grace? Um, yeah, look, to be fair, like you said,
Indeed.
a very entertaining game. I actually listened to the first half on the radio because I was making my way back from Sheffield. But it's the first time I listened to the game on the radio, and I wasn't bored. It was very good. It sounded very much end to end, and I thought Liverpool was actually going to go on to win it, especially after that free kick. But then all of a sudden, what 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 do we say about it? It was a chaotic sort of final 15 minutes, wasn't it? Really, it's a fantastic way to end the weekend as a whole. But Man City get a goal back. From that moment on, I kind of had a feeling Man City were going to go on to win it, but not in that
Mhm.
fashion.
No, I mean, it just feels a bit of a blur because it all happened, like you said, within sort of 15 minutes. I don't know about you, but I just saw that little hint resilience come through. And it was someone I want to highlight who really showed that for me was Mateus Nunes, both going forward and defensively. I thought he was excellent when the going got tough. They didn't sit back and just let Liverpool win that. They went for it, and it was really nice to see, especially as somebody who doesn't really want Arsenal to win the league. I want this to go on for as long as it possibly can. And yeah, I mean, I don't even remember the penalty situation. I don't. Oh, it was an Allison one, wasn't it? It was Allison. Um, it is a penalty. Do I like it as a penalty? Probably not, but it is a penalty these days. What did you think of it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first goal for Man City, delightful free kick. You've already covered that one, but yeah, the first goal I think it was a little flick on from Erling Haaland, wasn't it? A little header down to Bernardo Silva, and a lovely little clever finish through the legs of Alisson, which
Yeah, lovely.
yeah, fantastic little finish. There was, I think when I was sat down watching it, I think the commentator was calling for an offside or something. I think you could see it was miles onside. It was a lovely little wet goal, a lovely little flick on, a lovely little finish. Haaland with the penalty. Was it Haaland that won the penalty?
No, who was it? Who
I
was
can't
it?
remember
That's a
completely.
great question.
Shall I? Oh, I'll try and have a look. But I'll look. When I first, I can't remember who won it, but when I first saw it, I immediately said that is a penalty. And that's just the way. Let me just turn that highlights off. Because yeah, we've seen them given week in week out, and I do think it was a penalty. As soon as I'd seen that Allison rush at his feet. Oh, here we go. Yeah, as soon as I'd seen Allison rush at his feet, it was a penalty all day long.
Yeah, and it was also the case of the challenge happened while the ball was still in play, which I think played a massive part of it. So I don't think anybody can really argue that it wasn't a penalty. I think it was a penalty, and Haaland was under a lot of pressure to bury that penalty, and he did very well. He absorbed that pressure, and he won that game for City.
It looks like Ryan Cherky, I think, won the penalty.
Yes, that sounds right. Yeah.
I think it's not the best angle. I've got it literally in front of me, but it's not a brilliant angle. Right, fantastically placed penalty. Like you said, under a lot of pressure, he took his shirt off, which killed my FPL. But we won't talk about that. Talk to me about the third goal that wasn't a goal in the end.
Right. Set the scene. What was it? I think it was a gay ball over the top. I'm pretty sure it was a gay ball over the top.
Yeah,
And
it
Haaland had it.
sorry, it come from a corner, I think, and then because Allison was up on it, and then
Allison was, yeah,
it got cleared out, and was it Cherky again who knocked the ball through?
I thought it was gay. I might be wrong.
Well,
I might be wrong.
I think it was Gahey that put it through to Cherky, but then it was him that yeah, it was him that got that knocks the ball onto what would have been Haaland, and it ended up in the back of the goal, didn't it?
Yes, it did. So so the ball is going towards the goal. Um, so Bosley fouls Haaland. There's no doubt. But here's my thing, right? No, I'm not going to get on later. So he fouls Haaland. Haaland also gives him a bit. There's no doubt. He also gives him a bit. The ball ends up in the back of the net. But that goal is striked off because of Szoboszlai's foul. So how, and answer me this, Matty, how can denial of a goal scoring opportunity come before the goal actually going in? The ball actually going in the back of the net. How is that denial of a goal scoring opportunity if the ball ended up in the back of the net?
Because I think, I mean, I've not looked into the rules or the laws of the game when it comes to around this. From what I've read and what I've looked at, it was rightly ruled out. The only thing I can suggest, if if that ball had hit the post and come back out, or if there wasn't enough pace on the ball and it hadn't quite got to the goal, and they didn't pull it back for the Slobosai foul, everyone would be crying, saying, "Why haven't you given a free kick there? And why haven't you sent him off? Because it's denying of a goal scoring opportunity." There's no
Yeah,
okay, yes, the ball did end up in the back of the net, but there wasn't a guarantee of that. Like I know it sounds ridiculous, right? But let's just say there's a bit of wind on the pitch and it stops the ball from getting there. Do you know what I mean? Haaland would have got there because he would have got there. He was beating Slobosly all day long. He would have got to that ball. It's just it did end up in the back of the net, which is where the controversy sort of has come from. But if it hadn't have gone in the goal and it had hit the post or it had fallen short, they'd have had to have pulled it back. And if they hadn't, there'd have been controversy around that as well. So look, I think at the time I texted you and said this has overshone the last sort of 10 minutes of the game, and I think at the time in the heat of the moment I was saying this is wrong. We should just let the goal stand, keep both players on the pitch. Liverpool probably weren't going to come back into it anyway, but it was the rules of the game, and he's the law of it, and you can't. If we start saying let this go, then they've got to let that go, and they've got to let this other challenge go, and do you know what I mean? And it kind of like snowballs, and I already don't have enough faith in the referee to make the right decision as it is. So if we're then giving them the opportunity to use common sense instead of the laws of the game, it just opens up a can of worms, doesn't it?
Oh, I agree. I agree. I am in the same place as you. I still can't wrap my head around. I almost feel like supposed to have still been sent off because it was denial of a goal scoring opportunity, but the goal shouldn't have been struck off. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what they were aiming for.
Okay,
It's
but
a tough.
so like the only thing I can come back with that is there was also talks of a penalty shout in the Liverpool box before all this had happened. I think it maybe a handball or something or a foul. Like I said, like you said, it was that much of a blur. I've kind of like forgotten about it, but I'm sure there was conversations of a Liverpool penalty at the other end. So if you'd have let the goal stand, how can you do that if you then have to go back and look at the Liverpool penalty shout? And then if you have to give that penalty, do you then also strike off the red card and the Man City goal? Do you know, it's one of them situations where it's so confusing and nobody really knows. But I think it was rightly ruled out, and they followed the letter of the law. And it, this is the
I
problem.
think that's the key is they follow the letter of the law, and I think that was the safest option. Yes, we sit here and we go, that could have been a tremendous end to a tremendous football match. And there was part of me that wanted that. I wanted that sort of big finish, if you like. And I think that maybe could have been why my sort of hatred for the technology taking those moments away could potentially be changing the way I look at it. But you are absolutely spot on. The rules were followed, and I think we have to stick to that.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't trust the referees to get it right at the best of times. So if we're going to then give them the leeway to do what is common sense, then like I said, you're opening up a can of worms to all sorts, and they're already out of control as it is. I think Man City, I've swiped off the notification, but I think Pep did come out earlier and said, let the goal stand and let Slobosly stay on the pitch, otherwise he's going to miss the next game. But I mean, he's going to say that because ultimately he won the game. I think if it had been the other way around and he'd lost, he'd be calling for red cards and all sorts. So I think he's said let the goal stand and let both players stay on the pitch as a matter of the fact that he won the game.
Yeah, and I think of sportsmanship potentially because the truth is that was a decision by Sir Bosley. Like that's the truth of it. He made that choice, and he sort of he doesn't win really because he, as a Liverpool fan, I almost would have been pleased that he went for it anyway because it's the fight. It's really trying. He wasn't just giving up. But I think the overall the right thing happened because the rules were followed, and it was denial of a goal scoring opportunity. It was pulled back to that point. That is the rules. Had it been a real penalty shout and they'd looked at it and it'd been a penalty, it wouldn't have been a Szoboszlai red card, and it also wouldn't have been a Man City goal because they would have gone back to that situation. It's so tough. It's so tough. And I know we all want to go, oh, take away the technology and but that I think was the right decision to come to. And I was pleased in the end because it meant I got the prediction bang on.
Yeah, and like I think this has been thrown around on social media a bit as well, and we've never actually had it happen yet. But there's talks of what if somebody scores a goal late on in the game, they take off the share, it's a second yellow, and they get sent off, and then the goal gets struck off through VAR. What happens to the red card? Does is the player still sent off? I would assume so because he's broken disciplinary rules. But there's that many things that haven't happened with VAR yet. We don't quite know what the rules or regulations are around it. So where we do know what to do, you have to follow it.
But I would disagree with that. If a player has been sent off because of taking the shirt off second yellow, you know, but there's been an incident which means the goal gets struck off. It's almost everything past that incident should be voided. Do you see what I mean? I almost feel like if you're gonna play by those rules,
But then,
then
and
that's the way it should be.
the only thing I would counteract to that, and I think I've said this before, haven't I, about if you commit a foul offside, why isn't he being booked for that? Because he's even though he's offside, he's still committed a foul. And I think this is similar to where if a player takes his shirt off, or for example, like, again, this is taking it to the extreme. Someone scores a last minute winner, he punches another player in the face, gets sent off, and then that goal gets struck off. How can you revert the red card? He's literally just punched a player in the face. You can't bring him back on the pitch for that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Even though it's happened after the goal, and I know what you're saying in terms of like everything after that event should then be reverted. But like, and again, I know I'm taking it to the extreme. The likelihood of that happening is slim to none. I don't think players are going to start just throwing punches on the pitch. But do you see what I'm trying to say? Yeah, like a big. If he just like headbutts somebody and gets sent off, you can't bring him back on the pitch just because the goal's been ruled out.
yeah. Look, they're gonna have this situation. They're gonna have it, and right now the rules. Yeah, okay, we're playing by the rules, but they are gonna have that situation, and they're gonna have to answer it, and they're gonna have to do it in a short period of time. Surely they've had that discussion because it can't just be us on this poxy little podcast talking about it and them lot not having spoken about it. So there's be something within that, whether it's dangerous play, disciplinary issues. Do you argue that taking your shirt off for a second yellow isn't as bad as headbutting somebody? But then you're talking about levels of a red card. Oh, it's so complicated.
And that's again, this all goes back to the whole Slobosai thing, which it made me laugh to be fair, because when the goal went in, sorry, he sprinted towards the referee asking for a foul as if he hadn't started this in the first place with Haaland. That did make me laugh a little bit, but yeah, look, these things are going to happen, and VAR is still relatively new to football in terms of how long football existed. So these going to be these question marks, and these scenarios are going to pop up where we don't quite know what to do. So, like I said, where we do know what to do, you have to stick by the rules.
Yeah, I think you have to. And I think maybe what they do in that situation is they take the red card away immediately as being an on pitch decision, but then they give, how they often will look back on it and go, okay, that was really out of line. We're going to extend the ban. I think it could be something to do with that. They sort of take away to begin with and then look at it later on from a wider perspective and go, no, that was a disciplinary issue. Like how I remember Masuaku getting banned for a few games because he spat on someone, but that wasn't picked up in the game. It was just later on they looked at it and went, no, that's a disciplinary issue. We have to suspend him. I think it'd be something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we can debate this for however long we've got, but like I said to you, I feel like it's taken away the conversation of what that game, how good that game really was. And I mean, Liverpool are sitting in sixth now. They're on the same points as Brentford, and they're only 2 points ahead of Everton. And we should be talking about maybe the collapse, not the collapse of Liverpool. Is that the right word? But do you know what I mean? The sort of the negative side of
Yeah.
Liverpool. And we should be talking about that and how Man City. We've spoke about teams not applying pressure at the right times, and they did that. They saw Arsenal went 9 points clear. They needed to win. They even went a goal down, and they still fought back. And we should be talking about that. And look, like I said, we can debate this for as long as we want, but it's just another example of VAR just taking the headlines from a game.
Yeah, a game of football. Do you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, I sort of want to end it on that note of talking about City. Do you know what I mean? Talking about that achievement, talking about the grit and determination of going 1-0 down at Anfield, knowing their record at Anfield as well. I just thought it was admirable, and I think it could really start a lovely from a neutral point of view, a lovely title race, something that we can all get really, we can all really enjoy. I think we all prefer that when it, not necessarily goes down to the final day. That's the perfect type situation. But something that really shows a bit of grit, you show doubt in this team and then there's confidence in this one. I don't think any of us saw City winning that after that Szoboszlai free kick.
Yeah, no, not after that free kick. No, not at all. I thought Liverpool were going to hold out for the win, but like I said, when Man City nicks one back, I had more faith in them going to score a second than I did Liverpool. And again, we haven't really got time for it today because I mean, I took up a lot of time about the the Tottenham run, but I'd love to go into the whole Mo Salah debate again because there's question marks over him and coming in the squad. But we'll do that. We've got a spare week coming up at some point because we've got the FA Cup weekend, so we'll decide something to do during that. But yeah, I'd love to get into that debate. But yeah, look, that's pretty much the Premier League weekend wrapped up. It overshadowed the VAR, which is a shame. I don't want to end it on that. Like you said, I want to end it on how positive it is for Man City, and the title race looks firmly on, as does the relegation battle. So I mean, look, it's always going to be entertaining from here on out, right?
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to what is it, the next 13 games or something, with a few teams with European football in there, but at the top and the bottom of the table that are going to cause stress and they're going to cause, the fixture congestion is mental at this time of year. And especially because things like the playoffs cause more stress. Um, it is going to be a fascinating end to the season, and I really hope that I can enjoy it. I hope it's not too stressful for me. And you really, considering where Tottenham are. I'm really excited for this title race. I'm really looking forward to, they've still got to play each other. That's what's brilliant about it. They've still got to play each other. I think City are going to be up for it now, and I'm hyped.
Yeah, and I will just point out just there, 13 games, and Romero is going to miss four of them. He's also on eight yellow cards, so another two yellow cards, he misses more games. There's a possibility of him only playing seven more games for Tottenham now. Not bad for considering, the lack of squad that we've got from Romero there. Cheers, pal. Anyway, Grace, we've already spoke about the game of the week. Hit me with your player of the weekend or star
My
player.
player of the weekend, my star player of the weekend is Gyökeres. Gyökeres is getting my credit.
Is.
Oh, have you gone Gyökeres as well? Sorry,
Oh, it's okay.
sorry.
Look, I can change it. I've got multiple options. It's fine.
Yeah, I've gone Gyökeres. I think he's really starting to show what he's made of now, and I loved his goals. Really, I really loved what he gave to Arsenal on Saturday, and I just think he deserves that credit that he's not necessarily gotten this season.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, I mean, I had Gyökeres on there. I do actually have a couple of options just in case we do ever come with the same one. But I'm going to go for Bernardo Silva. I think it was the biggest game of the weekend. Man City needed to win, especially after Arsenal went 9 points clear. Like I said, I've already said that lovely little finish for the first goal, and I think he was the architect of Man City's comeback. So I'm going to give it to him.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
Grace, I mean, what another brilliant week of football. I know again that these last two podcasts have gone on forever, but we've gone on tangents and stuff. They have been slightly longer. We are going to try and condense them to a bit shorter, but we just get so passionate, and I can't help but rant about how shit we are.
Yeah, I look, we just get onto tangents, and then you just can't stop us. There's literally going to be a point where these are 3 hours long.
Oh yeah, right, Grace. It's been an absolute fantastic podcast again. You've absolutely smashed it out of the park. Midweek fixtures. We're gonna do something around the FA Cup or something. We'll figure it out. But guys, like, subscribe. Behind the Mic Media is popping off again. Grace Wild Football, TikTok, Instagram, all them lovely things. It helps out more than you know. And enjoy your week.
See ya.
Bye bye.